everyone, my name is Tiara, aka Bookworm Babe, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing my March wrap-up. I had some really amazing reads in March. I honestly can't complain. It was such a good month for me in terms of my reading. And before we jump into the video, I just want to ask if everyone can do me a favor. If you've been enjoying these videos, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep seeing all this fun, bookish, cultural, everything content, because it really helps me out. So without further ado, let's jump into my March wrap-up. So the first book that I read this month was actually sent to me by Penguin Random House. Huge shout out to them for sending me this book, and actually the one I'll show you guys after, to review for them, because they were like amazing picks and I really enjoyed them, and they were both like completely out of my usual genres that I read. Especially if you've been like kind of following me and seeing what I read, I tend to pick things that are on like the more serious side, like the side where we're dealing with a lot of different like issues and heavy topics are usually my picks. So it was really nice to kind of take a different approach to my reading and switch things up. So that first book I'm talking about is called Serena Singh Flips the Script, and this is by Sonya Lalli. So I have never read any work by Sonya Lalli before, but this was so cute and so good. So our main character is Serena Singh. She's a 36-year-old woman. She is single and she's just a badass brown girl. Like literally, I mean, her words, and I can definitely like, you know, put the stamp that she's for real on that, but she's a badass brown girl. She just landed her dream job. She works for like an advertising agency, and she's just like, she's killing it in her life, right? But her one thing that she kind of really sticks to is the fact that she doesn't want to get married, she doesn't want to start a family, and she's happy just being single. And the way our book starts off is with her younger sister Natasha, who just got married, and so the pressure definitely has now flipped to Serena, considering she's the older of the two girls and she still refuses to get married. It gets really fun because Serena is in this weird stage in her life where, because she's in her mid-30s, all her friends are, you know, married, they have kids, and no one has time to hang out the way they used to when they were younger because they have all these family responsibilities and she doesn't, right? So she is desperately looking for new friends and trying like different scenarios to put herself in, just whatever will help her meet people with who share her interests. And along the way, she does meet a really cool new friend who actually works in her office. Her name is Ainsley, and the two of them instantly end up bonding, and it is such a really cute thing to see. And alongside, you know, Serena does start casually dating somebody, but she's not really committed the way her boyfriend, and she even struggles to call him her boyfriend, but she even kind of struggles to, you know, make that connection with him, and eventually it leads to them breaking up, and she actually does reconnect with an ex, but it's just, it's so cute overall the way everything happens. And I think what I really loved about this book is how relatable it is, because I mean, I'm not in my mid-30s, I'm reaching my mid-20s now, but I think it's really relatable for a lot of women in general, that there is a lot of pressure on us to get married and start families, and we're not living in those times anymore. People want to focus on their careers and have fun and things like that, and while, you know, marriage and kids still works for, you know, a lot of people, for a lot of people it also doesn't, and they're not really like into it, and it's no longer like this requirement the same way it sort of used to be like traditionally, right? So the book is a romantic comedy, of course, and like I had said before, this is not a genre that I usually read, but there were moments when honestly it made me laugh out loud because it was actually funny. Serena she's a strong female character. She's quirky, she's fun, and she's so down to earth, and like her character is so genuine and believable. Like there's no, I personally don't have any doubts in the way her character was created and written. Her character was fantastic to me, and so were the other characters. Everyone was so like honest, so real, and it kind of all kind of shows the fact that, you know, usually why I personally don't read romances is because everything is very like glitterized, and it's sort of like, okay, well, no one really like acts this way in real life. But this was very honest in a sense that this is genuinely the way people will act in real life. I also really enjoyed that the main romance in the story wasn't actually really between Serena and any of the male characters. It was actually between Serena and, you know, Ainsley. It was that love of a friendship and a genuine friendship. So overall, this was a 5 out of 5 for me. And again, thank you to Penguin Random House for sending me this. It was a fantastic read. The next book that was also sent to me by Penguin is called The Dating Plan. This is by Sara Desai. And again, I've never read her work before, but I think this one might have actually been cuter than Serena Singh Flips the Script. I don't even know how to compare them, but this was so cute. So our main character, her name is Daisy Patel. Daisy is a junior software engineer, and I just want to take a minute to appreciate, like, in both these books, they are badass brown women, and they all had really cool careers. Like, she's a software engineer. Like that is cool. You don't often like read things where women are like in those kind of roles, so I really appreciated that as well. Daisy is very quirky, she's very to herself, and she's incredibly smart. She's somebody who sticks to lists, schedules, everything, and she likes to live her life that way. And she's not in a position where she's looking for a romance or a relationship. She was dating someone briefly and it didn't work out, but you know, she comes from a really big Indian family, and she always has aunties that are trying to, you know, hook her up with this person's son and this person's cousin and whatever, and she's just like, oh my god, I'm not having it. So the way our book starts out, Daisy is at a conference and she's, you know, in the bathroom grabbing a bunch of pad samples because she's using them for the demonstration for her conference event, and she runs into a long lost crush, we'll say. So that is our other main character. His name is Liam Murphy. So Daisy and Liam knew each other from the time they were like kids, basically, like 10-12 years old type thing. Liam was Daisy's older brother's best friend. He was always at the house because he came from a really like hectic household. His family, you know, his mom dealt with a lot of domestic abuse and stuff from his father, and even he dealt with abuse from his father, so he often was at Daisy's house and of course became like a part of the family. So Liam was supposed to take Daisy to prom, and he basically never showed up and abandoned her, and then never kind of showed up and saw the family ever again. So she's really held on to that moment very closely, and it's something that bothers her. And then when she runs into Liam, it kind of reignites this love that they had for each other the whole time when they were younger and never actually spoke about, which is, it's so funny, but it's really cute. So Liam's grandfather just passed away, and in order for him to claim his inheritance, he has to be married and stay married for a year. He is super single, doesn't do relationships, and it's looking like a bust. So he and Daisy basically link up, create a dating plan to verify this fake marriage that they're both going to take part in order to, you know, legitimize, for Liam's sake and for Daisy's sake, have everyone off her back and stop bothering her about getting married. But of course, along the way, the two of them rekindle, they remember the good times from when they were younger, and Daisy finds out what really happened and why Liam stood her up the night of her prom. I love the banter between the two of them. It is so cute and it's so funny, real and honest, and it's how you would kind of picture people bantering and stuff like that, and I really enjoyed it, and it made me laugh out loud. Their moments where they connected were so cute, and I was so happy with the way like the book ended. It was the total, like, you know, romance roller coaster. One minute it's good, then it was shitty, then it ends up good, and like it really takes you on that. But overall, their dynamic is great. They complement each other so great, and I didn't even want the book to end. It was so cute, and honestly I enjoyed it so much. So again, this was another 5 out of 5 for me. Next book that I read was Homebody by Rupi Kaur. I know this is an extremely popular book. It was a new release that came out, I think, the beginning of this year or the end of last year. I'm not too sure. I was gifted this, and it was such a like thoughtful gift for someone to do for me. And so here are my thoughts on this, right? Because Rupi Kaur is such a huge name in like writing and poetry and stuff like that, and I used to see her poems all the time on Tumblr back in the Tumblr days, you know, when I was really active on there, and I used to like them, but truth be told, I've never read her last 2 books. I've only ever seen like snippets of it. So this was my first Rupi Kaur book, and I enjoyed parts of it. I did. There was poems that I found really relatable. She spoke about a lot of heavy topics in here. A lot of things about like immigration, her family story, sexual abuse, telling her own story, mental health, you know, just looking up and trying to look for brighter days in the midst of going through like tough times. A lot of like body image related things, and I enjoyed those. I think a lot of them were relatable, but then some of the poems were really short. I don't know if I guess you'd call them a poem, because they were like a line, and it felt more like a statement, if that makes sense. Like, I think that in some instances you don't have to speak for too long. Like, sometimes short and to the point is what captures it, but I really enjoyed the longer works, and I wish there was more longer work that was in this book. It was just, I breezed through it in like a day and a half. It was so like quick for me, and I just felt like some of it felt kind of just like basic, I guess you could say. I didn't feel like it was really like as deep or complex as I was hoping for, but then on some of the poems I did get that feeling, and I appreciated like the self-love and like the positive messages that are in there, because I feel like we really need stuff like that at this time. Some of them kind of felt a bit like repetitive, a bit flat, and I had like a mixed sort of feeling about the book. So it was enjoyable for sure, but it may not have been like my favorite. So for me, this was gonna be a 4 out of 5. Overall, it was still really great, and I love the like illustration she does to match with everything, but it wasn't necessarily my favorite either. The last book that I read from March is called Split Tooth. This is by Tanya Tagaq. Tanya is an Indigenous Canadian author. This again was my first time reading a piece of work by her. I'm not sure if she has any other books though, but this might be the first. And again, I had mixed feelings about this one. So in this book, we are following a young girl from the age of about like 10 to 17, 18. That's like our span. And she's growing up in the 70s in Nunavut, which is one of the territories in Canada, if you're not aware, like if you're not sure, if you've never heard of it. So it's a really cold, icy place. Nunavut, I swear I feel like it's winter like all the time there. I could be wrong, but it's a really like cold place. So we get a sense of her like childhood, her life, her family, her friends, the dynamic that's going on. And this is like, the book isn't split into like first and halves, but that first sort of half of the book, proverbially the first half, we get a lot of that information and see the dynamic. You know, it touches on things like sexual abuse, like alcoholism, things like that. Just all the dynamics of growing up, being young, and obviously like these issues that are going on alongside. The book is a mix of prose and poetry, and the poetry is beautiful, the prose are beautiful, but somewhere along the line I got very lost in reading this. So because everything is very poetic, very metaphorical, there were times when I genuinely just didn't understand what was going on, and I don't necessarily put that on the author. This could just be me, you know what I mean? I don't know. But there were times when I was really lost, and there comes a point where she's now like, you know, 17, 18, and she becomes pregnant, but she's not pregnant by, you know, a person. It happened after an encounter she had with the Northern Lights. But like I said, this is where I get lost, and I didn't really understand maybe what the metaphor of this pregnancy was and the way it happened. She ended up having twins, and she was saying, you know, like the girl was describing that, you know, the boy, her son, was sucking the life out of people and ultimately like killing them, whereas the daughter was very different, very gentle and stuff like that, and eventually she ends up sacrificing them and putting them back into like the earth, in the water, and the two of them turn into a seal, something of that sort. So I didn't really comprehend like the dynamic of what was going on here, the metaphors, the poetry. I personally just got kind of lost, and like I said, I thought the writing was really beautiful, but unfortunately I couldn't really put two and two together and figure out what was going on. I was trying to reread things, but I just ended up being like really lost. So unfortunately for me, this one was a 3 out of 5. There's definitely a beautiful story in here, and maybe if you're someone who really gets that type of, you know, lyrical speaking, it might hit you differently, but for me, I just couldn't connect with it, so it just didn't hit home for me. So that is it for today's wrap up. Like I said, these were some amazing books. Even though like I may have had like mixed thoughts on them, I still enjoyed like what I got out of each book, and overall like March was a great month, and I've already obviously started my April reading and I am enjoying it as well. So like I said, that is it for me today. I have a couple fun things planned for this month, and I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys a few really special updates, so please stay tuned for that, and take care and stay safe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!